And guys, we're back. Hey, we've had a spirited conversation during this break here. And I promise, I wish you, well, if you tune in to Facebook Live, you'll be able to catch in on that. We talked about some of the courageousness that it took for individuals to be able to step up and get out into the fight for justice and against injustice. We talked about how Dr. King took the issues, the moral issues, the issues that were swept and kept behind the doors and underneath sheets, and put them bare in the face of Americans so that now they were forced to look at things from a moral perspective. And we ended up this last segment talking about going into the immoral and crazy activity of some of today's headliners, most notably Mr. R. Kelly. That's your Kelly. And so, as we're looking at the activity that he engaged in, it's not so much the promiscuity and the immorality of getting with the younger girls. It's some of the enslavement, some of the actions that he took that were just so heinous that we're looking now and say, what should we do? What's our position? So I know you have something to say, so I'm gonna zip it and listen.
Okay. Well,
how about that?
You know, I toss this hot potato over here.
Yeah, I didn't want
so
to burn my
you know what?
Yes.
What I do is this, and I have to take it. What does it mean for me?
Mm-hmm.
This R. Kelly situation. What does it mean for me? Now, being a pastor, being in a position where you're influence or in some perceived power, sometimes that garners some attention that I might not necessarily want, right? And so when you look at that as a backdrop to say a person who is talented, gifted, he has all the money in the world, all that other stuff, that allure to power, that's intoxicating for some folks, that's alluring for the opposite sex in some cases. And so for me, for my takeaways in there, right, is that I have to let not my good be spoken evil of. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Is that I gotta adjust myself accordingly to understand that in any moment, in any lack of judgment, it can bring down everything that I have been doing over the last 9-10 years in ministry. When we think about some of the things that, you know, I'm reminded of my bishop in Atlanta. What's my Eddie Long, right? Done a ton of amazing things. And I have firsthand account of some of the things he did. Let's take, for example, he was giving away cars to some of the members in the church who didn't have cars. And so he got people to donate some of their cars. And then this one young lady, one lady came in and said, hey, the people that gave me their car, they got it back from me. They got into some issues with their original car and they had to take it back. He said, well, I hate that happened to you. He said, reach in his pocket, grab the keys out of his brand new Range Rover. He said, this is yours, right? Did that. This is the level. But then the indiscretion that he had kind of spoiled all of that. And when you look at powerful men who go through and make all these strides and great achievements for the collective, it'll be that one indiscretion that then we throw everything out. We look at Dr. Cosby, right? Mm-hmm. And look at that indiscretion and do it. And at stake, my takeaway again is that, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Is it this thing that my lack of judgment or my lust in my flesh put me in a situation that I'm just like R. Kelly? Forget all the thousands of hits. Forget all the influences that he's done for the industry, for the black community, reviving careers, the Isley, you know, Mr. Biggs, the whole nine, everything he worked for. And now we're down to this. Not that it's not deserving. I'm saying for us, what we take away from it. Will we put ourselves in the line of fire, and not only now, especially as a man of God, that I'm putting myself in a position where I'm really just collateral damage, and the real person that falls is my father. And so that's what I got to think about when it's time to go in this. And I'm saying I'm not going to be the person that opened up the door that I can expose my father for. That's my takeaway.
Your Father God, or your
Father God. On my Father whose shoulders I stand on.
So you're saying
my namesake.
But from your Heavenly Father's perspective, your actions, that one indiscretion puts a negative light on the full body of Christ.
Right.
Which is
because now they want to point fingers. Throw the baby out the bathwater. That's how it's going to happen, and it'll be my legacy will be left in ruin based on that one indiscretion. Versus, now let me tell you one of the things that the attribute. Now you know one of my platforms for my ministry is love. And when we think about 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7, 4 through 9, and talk about love, there's 16 characters of love. one that we miss all the time. It said love covers a multitude of sins, right? It also says that in there that it doesn't keep any records of wrong. But I'm gonna tell you what the world do.
Oh, keep all kind of records.
Brother, I got your
Bring a
receipts
page
from
on there.
96.
Yeah.
I got
I
that
remember
look
that
from the
one
other
time.
day. I'm gonna tell you.
And you looked at Sister so-and-so.
So in this place where we love our brothers, or we can forgive our brothers and not keep the records of wrong, you know, we got to get to a point where we're saying, okay, clearly you had an issue, you've fallen, but you've grown from it, or you've evolved from it, and so do we expunge your records? We can do it legally and have our records expunged, but I'm going to tell you, the moral compass of some Christians, they'll keep nailing us to the same cross. Not that it ain't deserved. Now the brother need to get his help. He need to first come into an accountability and say, you know what, I got to get some help. But once he does that, are we willing to bring him back into the fold?
Well, he's not in that space.
No, he's not in that space.
He's created a space. He's got people around him that he's a deity in his mind, and he have people coming to him, deitizing him. They're worshiping him. And he's created himself almost like a godlike figure.
Yes.
You got these little girls that are just coming into his. It's like a harem or something going on back in 1,000 years ago.
Yes.
The way he's treating these kids, and then not even touching on the issue of the appropriateness of when a man, what's too old for a man to be messing with a young kid. Now I know when my dad was coming up and his father was coming up, it wasn't unusual for men to marry girls with a 20 and 30-year gap, age difference.
Yes.
Now, once we've come into knowledge and we put laws in place to say, hey, these kids aren't mature enough to make those type of decisions, so now we had to put some laws in place to stop all that stuff, because it needed to be governed, because it wasn't. And there was a lot of things that were going on with that. Even though that was the culture, didn't necessarily mean it was right, so we had to amend it, and we did. So now we clearly have defined what's too young for an adult male to be fooling with. He crossed the line. Now, whether it happened yesterday or 20 years ago, technology has
caught up with us.
Has shed some light on it, which is what it's supposed to do. Anything you do crazy in the dark, the light is going to shine on it. At some point, the universe is going to reconcile. That's just the way it works. Now, I'm a firm believer that we need that technology to correct things. That's how you mentioned it earlier. The reason why the country got behind Martin Luther King and all of the civil rights movement is they started seeing the atrocities on TV.
On TV.
They saw the things. They saw what's happening with the police, and it touched the nation's consciousness.
Yes.
And so the same thing with police brutality. People were. Now you had a chance to see police shooting these men that were unarmed, or beating these men that were unarmed, and now now there's an uprising. We as men lost.
All along.
Well, that's okay, but now the point being is that we evolved to a point to correct what's wrong. Yes. And so now we get to a point now where we can correct this behavior that's going on. The bottom line is this man has been a pedophile for a long time.
Right.
Now, he's 50 plus years old, and the girls, he's got 2 women living with him now. They just sent the police over, and they went by, and the girls said they're of their own will. And these are young girls in their 20s.
Right.
So he's still there in his mind, and he doesn't own anything.
Yeah, and that's part of the things that for the conversation to say, for me, looking at that, but how does it translate for my story, right? And that's one of the aspects of when I look at it and say, how does it affect me? Because again, this is clearly I can keep it myopically and focus only on R. Kelly, or I can look over and say, what's the issues that it can potentially
dealing with that I'm dealing with,
right?
Because all of us, fall short.
Yes.
And right now we're look at the Jim Jones. You look at the whole situation with the Mormons, and they're having multiple sister wives and all that.
Polygamous, yes.
And so these are issues that are facing us. And as men, one of the reasons why the National Men's Prayer Call was established to begin with is because men have issues. And right now today we're exposed to so much, and we're tempted by so many things, and our judgment becomes clouded. And we're in a situation where we want to be better, we want to do better, but just like Paul said, he said, the good that I would, I end up doing bad, because the circumstances of life is just coming at me, and I'm weak. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, which is no excuse. Right. But the reality is that we're dealing with that. So the National Men's Prayer Call was one of the reasons that we are established, thriving, and expanding is because we want to give men an avenue of hope, an avenue to be able to say there are other men, that iron does sharpen iron, and that we're reaching out and saying, hey, if you're in a situation, we have an avenue of prayer. We have a praise report so the people that have overcome issues and situations can share that so that it strengthens and encourages other brothers. But we want to bring a spiritual message on Tuesdays that strengthens you, and a more powerful personal growth, personal development message on Thursday that encourages you, that lifts you up. And in line with that, on February the 9th, there will be a second In the Huddle with Chris Howell. Now this event's going to take place over at the at Dallas City Hall in the flag room. There's no cost for it, but we do want you to register so we can keep a head count and know exactly where we are there. So register today at chrishowellfoundation.org. That's Chris Howell, Hewell, foundation.org. And the topic that we're going to be talking about is manhood and social responsibility. Now, our Mr. Make It Happen is going to be one of the panelists and one of the presenters at that event, as well as Casey Thomas, the Mayor Pro Tem of Dallas. So the National Men's Prayer Call is here, and we have Project 25,000. We're looking this year to reach 25,000 men and have them to join us in prayer on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings. And then beyond that, we're looking at 250,000, and we want to reach as many men as possible and get them on the mandate of prayer.
Not only the mandate of prayer, but it comes down to a very rudimentary understanding of accountability and responsibility that every man has to walk in. And as we encourage one another, as I follow Christ and you follow me in the sphere of influence that we are creating a group of men and fostering an environment that we are stepping up into that role of responsibility that God originally put us in, at the core of it. And that's why it's so important for men to participate in the National Men's Prayer Call. It is really comprehensive, and it gives a group of a sense of belonging with other men. I'm doing something that I'm proactively participating in the evolution of my spirituality. I'm stepping up as a man.
Which develops character.
Right.
Which character is the thing that's character and ethics is the thing that's missing, and I want to put a pin on, wrap up the R. Kelly thing. That's what I really want to say. The problem with the whole R. Kelly thing is that it's morally wrong.
Definitely.
All right, and the reason why there's issues and there's this big debate is because the moral lines are being blurred.
Right.
In the world today, not just the United States, but in the world.
Okay.
What's right, what's wrong, and also what it's doing too is numbing our consciousness that we don't feel what's right and what's wrong. And now, then you have people that are not following anything spiritually, or that has no guidance there. They do whatever they feel like doing. What your body will tell you can do.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to do. There's no governor on it. There's no control on it. And so now you can justify any conduct in your mind, and that's what's going on with this man.
Yeah, because the flesh is corruptible. But wouldn't it have been dope if he had one of his brothers and say, that pull him by the coattails and say, you know what, Kels, you can't do that. You know, or even for as us, as we've been journeying together as brothers, is in some occasions say, hey, bro, you were wrong on that.
Yes.
And I want you to think about this in a different way, see this from a different perspective. And that moral compass is righted by sometimes my brother pointing me in the right direction. Because we can get off and we can get thrown real quick.
Reggie, let's wrap this up before we move on to our next segment.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you. If you gave me $1 million, I wouldn't even know what R. Kelly's, whatever his songs are. I don't know anything about it.
Give me $1 million. I
I don't know. I just don't know.
Well, R. Kelly for me,
I'm sorry, I don't follow him.
young.
I just don't know anything about it. I just, obviously heard it on the news, and I say, okay, there's someone
There's
else.
another one, yeah.
There's another one.
Well,
I mean, that's all I said. It's
it
just
was
another
tough for
one.
me because I
As
have
much talent, I know he has a lot
every
of
song
talent.
he's ever put out.
See, I don't even know anything about it.
I mean,
See.
everything he's ever. I'm a huge R. Kelly fan,
yeah.
so
See.
it was a big
Well, it's not just
deal
him.
for me.
Disappointment,
It was disappointment. And then especially the way my wife and my daughter reacted.
Really? Yeah, see, I wouldn't even know, man.
A lot of the music out there, he either produced, wrote, or somehow is connected to it.
Influence. But my wife and daughter reacted so strongly that I had to honor the way they felt.
Yes.
You know, I had to kind of dig down into it, to see that past the old guy messing with the young kid,
Yes.
but all of the other craziness,
Yes.
then I had to focus in on it, and then I was able to have some empathy as far as where they felt that. But he'll get everything that he did wrong. It's going to happen. Sony dropped his contract, so he stopped. His financially, he's having a huge impact.
Well, the same thing that happened to Bill and everybody.
He's going to be the next. Yeah, it's going to end ugly for him.
It's already ugly. But this is the real caveat is that the whole scene with the hip hop and the gangster rap and that negative knowledge that's been perpetrated onto our youth and onto society, that is bringing that is circulating that ignorance and that crap, and we're having to deal with it. It's a moral sickness that is that we as a society are being fed. And if we don't step up and someone stand up and say that enough is enough, we don't want to hear any more of that. But see, these in that society, in that mindset, that's how they look at young women as instruments and as just as tools to be used. And there's nothing good. I'm gonna get off of that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say this. Hey, we're being sponsored today by Thibodeau's Cajun Cooking. Now let me tell you this. If you like Cajun food, if you like Cajun seafood, fish, scrimps, if you like, I said scrimps, if you like that Cajun, that good old Cajun chicken and all that good, look here, they have live entertainment, but some of the best food in the Metroplex. Now my daughter has a restaurant, and he's on par with them. We're talking about, was that a shameless plug?
Well, yeah, it was a shameless plug, Johnny.
But that's out in South Lake now. But on this side of town,
yeah,
I'm talking about Thibodeau's is the place you want to go. They've got live music, and it's just it's a nice environment to go in. So we just want to just give a shout out and just give a thanks for Thibodeau's stepping up and promoting the Ed Gray Show, because Ed is bringing politics, he's bringing information, stuff that you don't normally hear on a regular basis to the airwaves, so that the community has an avenue to be able to discuss issues that are troubling, issues that are controversial, issues that are troubling. So, and that's what we're here today, because I promise you, this R. Kelly conversation is raw and rough. And our next session, we're going to be talking about this government shutdown that's touching and destroying so many lives because of a campaign promise, because of somebody standing up and wanting to just get their way. And this is a kinder, gentler, stronger, for real type of political environment that it's not politics as usual anymore. So we're going to talk about it from that perspective. Okay? Thank you. We'll be right back.
If you're ready for some home-style cooking, some real Cajun food, you need to visit Thibodeau's Cajun Cooking, 107 North Cedar Ridge in Duncanville, Texas, for some of the best Cajun food in town. They also have live music as well. Great spot to bring your friends and your family. Thibodeau's Cajun Cooking. Hey, this is Benny Franklin, Mr. Make It Happen. I'm with the John Maxwell Group. If you're looking for a coach, if you're looking for a speaker, if you're looking for a mentor, I'm your guy. Go to BennyFranklin.com. Partner with Mr. Ed Gray. He's going to help you make your life work. Join us on the Commish Show every Saturday from 1 to 3.
Top of the day, people. Johnny Magnificent Mac here with GPS. Get Published Successfully. You can reach me at getpublishedsuccessfully@gmail.com. And when I'm looking to get all the newest information and news about what's going on in the Metroplex, I tune in to The Ed Gray Show.
Hey family, this is Derek Raphael with the Design Factory. If you're in need of marketing, logo, branding, any of that nature, I'm your guy. And when I need to know what's going on in our community, I always tune in with the Commish every Saturday from 1 to 3.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Wooten, and I'm the owner of Center of Attraction Hair Gallery. And when I want to be informed about what's going on within the DFW communities, I tune in every Saturday to the Commish radio show with Ed Gray from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Join us.
My name is Dr. Irvin D. Singster Jr. I am the Executive Director for the Justice League of Texas, and when I want to find out more information about social and political issues, I listen to the Commish radio station.